Good morning, everyone, and welcome to First Unitarian. We are a spiritually live, justice-centered, inclusive, musical, and multi-generational community, and we are so glad that you are here. If you are new, I hope that you will take the time to introduce yourself to me or to Tom, who is assisting this morning, and ask any questions that you might have about our faith or our congregation. After the service, you can join fellow congregants in social hour. You might even spot some of our children in costume. And you can also join virtually. You'll see a web link and a QR code following the service. Today, our coffee hour, our social hour, is in Fuller Hall, and just a reminder that next week it will be in Buchanan. Also today, following our service, our Board of Trustees is hosting a forum in the Elliott Chapel and on Zoom. All members and friends are welcome to come and hear about their efforts on behalf of our community. This Friday at 5 p.m., our lay ministers will host the 100th Zoom Vespers service. Yes, I know. Come and be nourished by this weekly 40-minute offering and join us in celebrating this milestone. Throughout this service, you are invited to light a candle for a dearly departed, or that candle could represent certainly more than one, and you can come up at any point in time. So if you're in the balcony, you can come down. We invite you to light a candle as and when you are moved. One quick announcement Duro wanted to share is that our choir is remaining masked because it's such a music-heavy service as a way of caring for the well-being of all. But know that he wanted you to know that the sound might be muffled, but I told him I thought we were gonna love it no matter what. Everyone behind me right now has worked so hard to offer us a nourishing spiritual feast. I invite you to turn to a neighbor and to greet them warmly. Today, we welcome the great cloud of witnesses, our spiritual ancestors, the founders of our faith and our community, those who broke new ground, opening pathways for love and liberation. Today, we welcome all our relations, including the spirits of our kin and kindred spirits gone before, those whose lives paved a way that twisted and turned to become our journey. Today, we welcome grief and sorrow, elation and celebration. We have prepared tables for their arrival where the light of loss commingles with the light of life. So come, beloveds, to our feast of all souls. No need to be called a saint or sinner to be welcomed here. There is a place for everyone who was, is, and ever will be, to sit beside one another and keep good company. I invite Julia Griffiths to come forward to light our chalice this morning. We are Unitarian Universalists. We light this chalice in faith, in hope, and in love.
Responsive reading. We remember them. In the rising of the sun and in its going down, we remember them. In the blowing of the wind and in the chill of winter, we remember them. In the opening of buds and in the rebirth of spring, we remember them. In the blueness of the sky and in the warmth of summer, we remember them. In the rustling of leaves and in the beauty of autumn, we remember them. In the beginning of the year and when it ends, we remember them. When we are weary and in need of strength, we remember them. When we are lost and sick at heart, we remember them. When we have joys we yearn to share, we remember them. So long as we live, they too shall live, for they are now part of us as we remember them. Let's sing together now our doxology, Spirit of Life.
Good morning. My name is Julia Lee Griffiths. I'm a member of your Board of Trustees. I am here this morning in part because I'm a member of the Finance Committee. When you become a member of the board, part of the joy of that is you get to choose between 3 standing committees, in case you are wondering. One of them is the Communications Committee, one is the Governance Committee, and one is the Finance Committee. And I chose to be on the Finance Committee in part to honor my mother, who was on the Finance Committee here at the church. She was a member of the board, and she was even the treasurer for the church. So part of my service is to honor her, and what a day. So part of the reason that I'm here is because we are in the midst of our annual fund drive. We are rooted and ready, and we are rooted in relationship. And now I have forgotten, so I'm going to read my notes. So we're rooted in lots of ways, right? Certainly longevity. I'm 50 years here. I'm deeply rooted. But there's other ways to be rooted, right? There's rooted in the relationships that we have here. Some of the closest relationships I have in my life were formed because of this congregation and this community. We can be rooted because of the time we spend here, right? Going to meetings, being part of music, being part of learning community. And we can be rooted because of that feeling of kindred spirits, right? Of that feeling of being connected to the mission and the values of this community, a place where you can, because we know that we are in attune with each other. From wherever that feeling of rootedness comes, it can lead us to feel the desire to support the congregation financially. And this is the time that we do that. And so because I am my mother's daughter and because I'm on the Finance Committee, I thought I'd give you some practical information, because when it comes to pledging, especially if you're new to it, it's like, I don't know how much you give. And so here's some practical information. The first piece of practical information is our budget this year is $1.6 million. And that budget is largely spent to pay the people who work here, and we pay a living wage, and that's part of living out our values, right? So $1.6 million. There are about 800 to 900 folks who pledge every year, so you can do the math of kind of how that averages out. So that's one bit of practical information. The second bit of practical information is we do the sustainer thing here. So who here, Oregon Public Broadcasting does a sustainer thing, and you give them your checking account. Well, you can do that here too. And you can, but the thing of it is that you opt in every year on the amount. So you get a letter and it says you gave this much this year. You want to do that again? You want to do a little more? You want to do even more than that? And you check the box and you fill it out, and it goes. So it's every year you're renewing and seeing what makes sense for you. So I give you those 2 bits of information again because I'm a mother's daughter and I want you to have some information. The other thing is we really are having a board forum, and those 3 committees really are giving reports today. And so you can come and ask questions if you have any questions. So the final thing that I wanted to say is we open and close our meetings, the Finance Committee and other meetings, with readings. And this last week we had our Finance Committee meeting, and the lovely Ed McLaren shared this one, and I'm going to read it to you. Real generosity toward the future lies in giving all to the present. Albert Camus. So thank you.
Thank you, Julia, for those generationally inspiring words. And I have an update to share with all of you. You can see on the slide behind me that we have now surpassed $1 million. We're at over $1,050,000 of our $1.6 million goal, which, as Julia shared, is the lion's share of our overall budget. And we have 2 more weeks to go before Celebration Sunday. And I have an invitation from the campaign team for all of you to consider joining Julia, not just by becoming a sustainer and offering a pledge. You have an opportunity to share some words of your own. Please consider sending a 20-second video clip. You can send extra 20 cents. Please send a 20-second video clip this week by Friday answering any of the following questions. And I have to say, as a newcomer, I'm really curious to hear what you might say. What keeps you coming back Sunday after Sunday? What calls you to make First Unitarian your spiritual home? What work does the church do that impacts you the most? What ministries are you glad to support for the sake of others? So thank you to everyone who has returned a pledge for the Rooted and Ready campaign for 2023. And thank you to all of you who will be getting in your pledges in the next couple of weeks and who will share a 20-second video with us about this incredible community. You are all making a difference, and we are co-creating this church. Thank you.
We make a space in our service every week to hold the concerns of our community life together. This is sacred space that we create together. As Alison mentioned today, in particular, you're invited to light a candle of remembrance or a candle of concern here in front. And throughout the week, you can send prayer requests to our ministers and to our lay ministers to be held throughout the week. You can do that in one of our galleries, or you can send them to prayer at firstunitarianportland.org. Just one announcement today, and that is a reminder that next Sunday, November the 6th, there will be a memorial service for longtime member Fritzi Frager. Fritzi died on September the 14th at the age of 79. Her memorial will be here in this space at 3 o'clock next Sunday afternoon, so I hope you can join us for that. Will you join me now in prayer? Spirit of life and of love, God of many names and of no name, hear all the prayers we bring, named in the silence of our hearts. We begin, Spirit, in gratitude for this day, for this season, for gentle rains that grace the earth and all of us, for brilliant fall colors and all of their beauty. And in this season, once again, we are aware of the presence of our ancestors, those nearly gone, so many with us from so many generations before. In these times, may their presence be with us, their stories, their gifts, their struggles too. May they bless us on our way, and in that blessing, may we know that we are never alone. Bless us, Spirit, on this day and in all the days to come. Amen. Let's take a few moments now and be together in silence. Let us remain seated and sing together now, Comfort Me.
Oh to bring about moments of beauty that draw us closer to the mystery of the divine, perhaps for some of us closer to God, and dancing around the liminality of what is natural and what is crafted. To support worship, not in a trite, facilitative way to ease liturgical transitions or to prepare the way for the preacher, but in a deep, meaningful way that aims to help each of us to reflect on and lift up what is most important and to identify what is most worthy. To build community using a common language or a common love. To redistribute resources as we are able and as we are called to support living composers and local musicians, especially those victimized by marginalization. They make our lives more beautiful. Our gratitude is shown by making their lives more sustainable. And finally, to be a breakwater in these times of transition and memory, to be that Gilead balm that heals our wounded souls. This is why we make music at First Unitarian Church of Portland. And it costs money. What a blessing that each of us, out of our own generosity and love, get to participate in creating moments like these. This is simply not possible without you, so I hope you feel ready to answer the call today to support the music making in this community and to support the ways we share our joy and our ministry with you. We thank you for these gifts that help sustain the music ministry of this congregation and for your spirit of generosity. You can give using the QR code on the screen now or on the yellow cards in the pews around you at any time throughout the service or afterward.
Survive as spectators. At bottom, no one believes in his own death. In the unconscious, every one of us is convinced of his own immortality.
Each year, the trees provide a poignant reminder that life and death each have their season. As the leaves turn shades of yellow and crimson, orange and purple and brown, we become deeply conscious of two things. First, each one of us has the chance to live in unique, changing, and colorful artistic ways. How shall we seize our time to reflect the hope and possibility in the fresh, green, leafy season of our youth? And if we are not to be plucked too soon from the tree of life, how shall we seize our time to reflect the myriad possibilities that can color our lives as we age? Second, as we watch the leaves twirl and dance on their final journey to the ground, we know instinctively that it is never too late to seize one moment of this living. That is, until we exhale our final breath. We take comfort in knowing that while one life has ended, other lives are just beginning, and so it is with the cycle of life, of trees, of all beings. We human beings are so very fortunate that in some very concrete ways, our lives continue to matter after we are gone. The leaves cannot testify to the meaning of life, or at least they cannot until we give voice to that truth, which we do as the world's composers and storytellers. Yes, our lives matter beyond the moment of that last breath, in part because of days like today, where we honor those who have gone before. In this week of All Hallows Eve, Samhain, El Dia de los Muertos, the Day of the Dead, and All Souls Day. Today we are invited to dwell less on whether our loved ones were plucked from the tree too soon, and more on how the color and quality of their love added to the landscape of our earth and sky. By the way, I do not gloss over the challenge of such early losses in this world. My father was only middle-aged when he passed, what should have been a strong green phase of life. And I spent quite a bit of my youth in a children's cancer ward, where too many lovely leaves were plucked hardly out of the season of buds. But as terrible as those deaths were and are, for any who experience them, whether the leaves were struck by sickness or by violence or by some accident of nature or humanity, it remains true that what will be remembered is not how long, but rather how they lived, their unique expression of color and shape, and how it contributed to the canvas of life, as well as how they loved, how they were willing to give away love and receive it through storms and sunshine, through winds and stillness. What is remembered is how they moved with the rhythms of life and how they touched the beings with whom they came into contact. And yet, this truth of trees so often eludes us, for it isn't easy to accept that life ends in death, as Freud reminds us. We feel this keenly during the pandemic. Friends, our global family has lost 6.6 million beloveds. We in the United States have lost over 1 million, and we in Oregon have lost nearly 9,000 lights in the world. I moved here from an area of the epicenter of the pandemic, New York City and the surrounding suburbs, and I can see the faces of beloved former congregants and their immediate family members who are amidst these numbers. I am also aware, though, that 10,000 babies are born every day in the United States, and over 385,000 babies are born in the world each day. This is the crux of what it means to be human. Like the marigolds on the ofrenda, a Day of the Dead altar, like the rose that we hand to our children in a dedication, naming, and blessing ceremonies, we are also full of life and beauty and oh so fragile. Each day is precious. Each day here in this community, someone experiences a loss and another experiences a joy. Sometimes a loss connected to death, and sometimes a joy connected to birth. We were made for joy and woe. And sometimes on a day like today, as our children parade around in costumes in their classes, and as we simultaneously celebrate our dead, as we mourn the lives cut short by the pandemic, we experience both. It was 34 years ago this week that I, as a 9th grader, took my father to the hospital with chest pain and called my mother to come meet us there. 3 days later, he went to sleep forever. How I howled with grief. That same day was my brother's 13th birthday. I could feel both in that moment, a deep sadness that life would never be the same without my father, and a desire to celebrate the birth of my brother. A friend, a peer group leader, helped me get to the market and buy a cake and candles. And when we returned, we sang Happy Birthday. Life and death hanging in the balance on the same day, like they do every single day. And yet, this is a time we testify to a miracle, that life continues in spite of death, that although my son never met my father, he knows him through stories and through me and who I am because of how my father helped shape me to be. That our ancestors, on the whole, survived more often than died, even in the harshest of winter seasons when food was scarce, is a miracle. Everyone here knows this pain and possibility. We have lost or will lose people and pets and plants that we have loved and cared for, friends and family members that we have loved and who have loved us in return, and who have inspired us to seize our own moment to dance on the breezes and the breath of life while we can. Fortunately, life generally does happen in cycles. What that means is that most of us can count on outliving our grandparents or parents. This is one reason why it is so hard when a death comes out of season, and my heart aches for the 150 dead in Korea yesterday from a terrible accident and stampede. Yes, it is so difficult when a death comes out of season. Yet it is a reminder that life is precious. The poets testify to it. And we don't know whether we'll have 100 or 75 or 50 or 25 or fewer years. Yet we do know that our lives, whether brief or long, that in them and through them, we can touch the world with a color and splendor that is our very own, quite unique in all the world, quite unique among the generations. And this is a great gift. If we do that, whenever we take our final journey back to Mother Earth, then our friends and family members will gather for us. And also, once again, on anniversaries like this one, to share just how we lived. They will light candles and look at mementos and celebrate their connection to us and to the stream of life and how our story, shape, color, and way of moving affected the landscape. These people, these lights of those we love will never actually be without us, and we will not be without them. For as long as they live, they will carry our story, the very heart of who we are, with them at all times. And if we are especially lucky, they may even transmit the story down to their children and grandchildren, or another person's child or grandchild. Even after our story is forgotten, the quality and the depth of our love has the possibility to move forward through the generations, as ultimately it is only love which passes eternally from one generation to the next. The love, the light we give away is what can never be plucked and continuously anchors us to the tree of life. Amen, and may it be so.
Lucille Beck, you are not forgotten. Pauline Anderson, Kathy Carter, Clyde Bellacourt, John Alfred Bell, Nancy Catlin, Betty Shalacombe, Dawn Crawford, Wayne Delk, Carver Causey, Lee Elder, Hal Estrie, Jeremy Dirks, John Cobb Cooper, Joan Didion, Paul Farmer, John Fox, Amy Farrell, Fritzy Frager, Eva May Leslie Jordan, Mary Ann Havlick, Tim Kenny, Paula Green, artist Leon Ivy, Rip Kessler, Keith Martin, Bell Hooks, Jody Likens, John Milhorn, Horace Neely, Thinnest, Robert Louis Eller Isaacs, Don Nelson, Terry Pitkin, David Steen, Lila Palmeter, Scott Francis Powell, Meredith Carproshaw, John Robinson McCann, Eligio Grado, Crispina Ogden, Jean Pupke, Marshall House, Donna Richards, Bill Russell, Roger Robinson, Julia Sains, Signey Virginia Lusk Newton, Beryl Sanders, Stephen Sondheim,
Spirit of life, move in us and through us and among us and across the generations. May the music and names we have offered consecrate our sanctuary of memory and hope. And those who are gone but not named, who dwell in the silence between the notes, the many names, the losses from prior years, whether at a ripe old age or as young as before a child could breathe. Trauma that transmits across the generations, the many losses in the silence. May these beloveds, named and unnamed, all of them, continue to nurture our dreams and inspire us to live more fully in whatever number of days ahead are still ours to claim. May we remember the past, dwell in the present, and move in our own season of life towards love and creativity, towards healing and wholeness. So may it be, and amen. And now in our going, may the love of our ancestors bless us and keep us. May it shine down upon us, and may it radiate out from within our very own hearts. May the legacies of their lives be gracious unto us and grow in us our own ability to choose life and love again and again. For this is the day that we are given. So let us rejoice in it and be glad. Go in peace. Practice love. Amen.